Are you actually stuck, or have you just not accepted the process? You know you're going to have to do that thing that's uncomfortable. By the way, you want the shortcut? Walk through it. That's the shortcut. Hey, listen, I have a little announcement. Number one, I have the iced coffee. Yes. Y'all hear that? But number two, we have season 4, which is going to be coming up soon. That will be launching September 1st. So we have a few more episodes of season 3. We'll take a small little hiatus and then we're going to come back revamped. And I'm excited for that. I wasn't sure if season 3 was going to go all the way through 2025, but I think we actually have something transpiring next month that will make the transition to season 4 excellent. So I just wanted to let you guys know, but welcome on back. Listen, we have a beautiful topic today that I really want to discuss with you guys. You know, we're actually talking a little bit about this coming up in the membership, which, by the way, stay tuned for the membership, okay? Because that's also getting a revamp coming up soon. My members are going to hear about that coming up on Wednesday, but you stay tuned here. Okay. But anyways, so we're covering this in our membership call next week, but I actually, you know, I wanted to talk about it here for a moment, and it's not quite what we're diving into in a lot of depth in that call, but this is important. Today, I actually want to talk to you about the process, and I apologize if you can hear my computer in the background. It is fanning. It's doing that thing. It's on its last leg. That's okay. The power of the process in our lives. And you know, I've been thinking about this the past couple of weeks because I have just been quietly observing and noticing how God has developed me in my own life. Not even the things externally that I seek or this and that, because it's not about any of that, but how He's developed me. And I look at the moments of fire, and I look at the moments of difficulty, and I look at the moments where I lost hope, and I go, oh my God, they all served a purpose. And I want to talk about that purpose today, okay? Because there is power in the process of your life and of your becoming. Why do I always say becoming? Because God doesn't care about the end goal in terms of what goes on externally. That's a vessel for you to express. That is a vessel for you to serve. It is a way for you to impact people, to use your gifts. It's beautiful. But so much of this comes down to you, developing you. Let's even say purifying, getting you to your place of optimal potential, what you're capable of doing. Some people would say your best self, right? That might look a little bit different in God's eyes, okay? It's not as much about achievement, but so much of it is about your own becoming. That's why these things in our lives, listen, what is the one constant that we can rely upon? It's change. If you have something you're holding on to in your life, we all do. Well, think for a second, because that might slip away at some point, and it teaches us that these material things in this world are fleeting. So let's get anchored here for a second and let's talk about this. You know, I actually sent out, I'm going to go in a couple different, we're going to riff today. How about that? I sent out an email earlier this week to my email list. If you guys aren't on my email list, definitely get on. I'll actually put the link to sign up for that in the description here. But I put up blog posts on my website every Monday. And this Monday I talked about the true riches of life. I said, what are your true riches? Because the material things, all of that stuff, okay? By the way, we need money to operate in this world. God knows that, okay? But the true riches of life, what are they? And you know, I even had a moment myself, I'll be honest with you, and I was thinking about the past 10, 15 years of my life. And there was a moment where I forgot about something, some achievement that I got, whatever, back in college, something. And I totally forgotten about that. I was like, that was kind of a big deal. And I went, but was it? In the grand scheme of what is important, in the grand scheme of my values, in the grand scheme of what is important in God's eyes, was it? And all of a sudden, as I was thinking about the past 10 or 15 years, I was somehow glazing over with a lack of significance over all of those different achievements. You know, I always say the achievements are beautiful. They're fun, but it's not about that. Okay, what would be the proper achievements in God's eyes, do you think? And I want to be very clear. We have things on our hearts. We have gifts, we have talents, we have knowledge. We all have been given gifts of the Spirit to be used. But in what capacity? Well, we'll find out. It's not about all of the vanity. And I think, you know, I haven't actually watched a clip of this, but I'm pretty sure I've heard over the years, you know, people talk about, you know, when someone is on their deathbed, they're not thinking about all their accolades, are they? They're not thinking about all the things that they got and that they were able to acquire. You think about the love, your family, your friends. The moments where even if you're going through the fire and you're being put up to the furnace and God is turning up the heat, it's the people that were brought into your life that were there with you in that season. You remember them. You remember that experience. You remember the love that they gave you and that you felt, because sometimes life is truly just about holding hands with each other, building community, and walking through the fire together. Hallelujah. Let me tell you something. If you guys have not listened to Exhale by Whitney Houston, yes, I'm a big Whitney fan, but it all is connected, I promise. The opening line of that song, we're so off right now, but we're going to come back. The opening line of that song is everyone falls in love sometimes. Sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's right. For every win, someone must fail, but there comes a point when we exhale. And I want you actually, what I would encourage you to do, no, I'm going to put the link in the description. Okay, have to remember that too. Do I have a pen? Whitney Exhale. You would think that I would remember that, but I'm telling you, my brain is wild. I'm going to put a link in the description. There's a beautiful video that has the orchestration that actually was in the movie. I think it was produced by Babyface. That was in the movie Waiting to Exhale. And I want you to listen to it, and I want you to sit with that, because at the end of the day, this life is wild. Okay, there are highs, there are lows, but guess what? The oscillation of that, where's most of the meaning? Right in the middle. And there's many things we can't make sense of. I don't think it's our job to. But if you are struggling and you're in the thick of it, you're in the wilderness, whatever season you want to call it, go put on that song. Go take a deep breath. Spend some time with your family. Go outside. And remember the true riches of your life. They are not in your achievements. That's the fun. Those. I always say, if this life is like a theme park, yeah, let's go on the rides, let's have fun, but it's who you're there with. It's who you're there with. Thank you, God, for that. Okay, let's get back to it. The power of the process. So now let's talk about, in addition to your becoming, perhaps the outward things that you are going to achieve in this world. So how many of you right now, for those of the hundreds of you that are listening right now, are at kind of the precipice of something new in your life? We could call it the cliff, right? You're kind of right at the cliff and God's like, hey, I'm gonna start to push you. You're like, I'm not ready, but okay, okay, right? Or you feel like you're at that crossroads, okay, where you kind of have to decide, well, which way am I gonna go? Well, sometimes we're in the waiting season where we're standing there and we go, why am I still standing? Oh God, it's getting really warm right now. Do we have any shade? Why am I still standing here? Okay. But I want to talk about the process. The process, first of all, it never goes as we think. So if you are someone who is wanting it to go a certain way, a new dream has been placed on your heart, darling. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the club. Put out all expectations. That's the one thing we can bank on. Okay, if change is the only constant, well, let's also release any expectations that we have that will never go as we expect, but we have to just trust that God's plan is better. And we could actually make that a separate episode. We can talk about that, because how do we get to that place? How do we expand and elevate our consciousness so that we can even perceive that? We'll come back to that. Let's talk about the 3 different steps today of this process. The process can be painful. Once we've gotten to the place of pain and we understand that this is painful for a reason, we come to a place of acceptance. When we're at a place of acceptance, then we come to a place of resilience. Resilience is what is being birthed in us, okay? How many of you listening or watching on YouTube or on Spotify have failed in your life at something? If I could put up every limb that I have, I'd say it. Absolutely. Now, how many of you, because you failed at that the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth time, then pivoted? Turning your intuition over to God is huge. Using your discernment is huge. But dare I say, the minute the pressure got ticked up, you backed away. So then what happens? Then you run around, you go about doing life, and here's a new opportunity, okay, and it feels really aligned with you, and you go, and then there's some pressure, and you do the same thing. No matter where you go, you are always called to walk through the forest. So I want to talk about the process of your life today, the process of this becoming. If things landed on our lap, these visions, these dreams that you have, these aspirations, let's talk about aspirations for a second, okay? This actually is a very balanced episode. If you mental note. If you listen back to the first half, which really talks about being where you are and that all is well, right? To this part, this is good. So we may have these aspirations. That is not the ultimate goal here. And dare I say that that's not the ultimate goal for God. It's, again, who you become in the process. So what I always tell people, and this is why I love to coach people, is if you have a dream or a vision that's way up high, meaning it's far off from where you are. I've said this many times on here, and I'm looking at you dead in the face. This is a good thing. What does this mean? The becoming is that much more delicious, if we could use that word. It is that much more needed. What does this also mean? In order to get there, and I love using a gym analogy, okay? If you're up there and you're a bodybuilder, but you're down here and you haven't even put on a pair of running shoes, well, there's one hell of a process that's going to come there. You're going to experience failure. But through being beat down and playing that game of whack-a-mole, you're going to build resilience. And resilience, okay, is how you sustain yourself at that level. So this almost is, it's, we're kind of, I'm going to say we are going to battle every day in this life. That's what it feels like, right? But you are being built. And if God allows it, then it's going to be used. Let it be used. Let it be used to build you. So once we understand the pain of the process and we accept it, then we start to build the resilience in just walking through it. Because what does it do? By the way, that discomfort, the pressure, right? Again, our membership talk this coming week is From Pressure to Power. It is pruning and squeezing out the last little bits of whatever is in that toothpaste tube, so God can refill it with his spirit and what is needed. So you're pruning out. You guys, I was on such a roll, my camera. I hadn't deleted the previous videos on the SD card, so I had to go do that. I apologize. Okay, but what is the pruning? Let's get right back into it. What is the pruning doing? It is squeezing out of you what needs to be squeezed out. That means the pressure has to be cooked up. Do not run from the pressure. Let it do its job. When the heat starts to be ticked up and it gets so hot, guess what? It burns. Okay? Steam is released. Things are burned off, released. And the word I know, purification, like it feels weird, right? But that's what is happening, right? It's you are being purified, and it's all, think about it this way too, okay? When you're in that place and things are being released from you and off of you, you have an opportunity. Okay, think about it this way. When things get bad enough, that's when you often make a choice, when the stakes are high enough. If the stakes aren't high enough and you're kind of waddling in the middle, it's fine. Your diet, think about it health-wise for a second. Your diet would change if you went to the doctor and all of a sudden there was this unbelievable ailment. Think about what we would change if we had enough pressure to do that. Now, we don't want to have to get there, but think about it in different areas of life. So now the question is, instead of running from the pressure, can we accept it? And then can we actually focus on creating it ourselves? Because now we've learned that the pressure is not a bad thing. So I'm going to offer you a question. We're hitting a lot of different points today. Number one, are you actually stuck, or have you just not accepted the process? And you just don't like the process. Because you know you're going to have to walk through it. You know you're going to have to do that thing that's uncomfortable. By the way, you want the shortcut? Walk through it. That's the shortcut. Everything else, you're elongating the process, because guess what? You're always going to go right back to what you have to go through. So I actually want you guys to challenge yourself today, myself included, right? It's looking at our lives and it's saying, well, what is that one thing that I know I should do that I'm not? And go do it. Why? Because you know it's the right thing to do. Second, why? Because I can't really avoid that. Third, why? Because I'll have to go through it eventually. And sometimes we have to have that boomerang come around enough to hit us in the head, enough pressure for us to say, I'm going to make a change. Sometimes it's the consequences of our own actions that create the pressure that God then allows, okay, for us to then go and make a change. It will be used. And this is going to be used to build you. This is not so that you all of a sudden have this iron, fist walking through this life. That's not what it is. You're rising to the natural posture that God has formed you to stand in. Hallelujah. You are rising in the natural, victorious, already done posture. And there's always going to be a little bit of fear. There should be. Life should feel a little scary at times in a healthy way. That's how you know you're pushing it. I oftentimes on this page, I talk about highest possible peak potential. Because that to me, I am in the field of, I don't even like the name personal development. I'm in the field of human potential. James Allen would say that, human potential. And why not? When you really think about the potential that God has given each of us, are you serious? Why not develop that for the sake of developing it, to become the best vessel for God to use you. And I know we're talking faith a lot, but it's the foundation. It is. There's a plan on your life. It's not easy. Higher Up Wellness. You know what he says? The guy, you guys ever see him on TikTok and Instagram? He's great. He says, he goes, did I say this last week? I'm sorry. He goes, it's not easy, but it is simple. There's our little beep outside confirmation. It's not easy, but it is simple. What are you viewing in your life as complex? That's actually a bit more simple, but difficult to walk through. Understandably, this is not to gaslight, but let's speak truth to it. We trust that it's being used for us. Then we walk through it in that understanding. We have acceptance. When we have acceptance, we're able to walk forward because we not know what to expect tangibly in front of us, but we know why it's there in some capacity and to refine us. Everybody's refinement looks different depending on what you're called to go do. Everybody's refinement looks different, but there are some common principles. There are some common themes that everyone will have to go through. The specific mechanics, well, that's, depends on your journey. But we're all going to be called to walk through the forest. We all are going to have the wilderness seasons. I mean, think about it this way. If any of you guys out there who are listening, moms, dads, you have kids. You can't give them everything all the time. The minute they try something and the minute you see that they might not know, you can't go in to solve it because they'll never learn. And they have to learn. Well, if we have a Father up above, the ultimate creator up above, why would it not be the same? But I hope this was an episode that spoke some truth into your spirit today. Truth is hard. We don't want to look at it sometimes. But I hope it spoke some truth into you. But there is a process here, and we have to trust that if things haven't panned out the way that we wanted, right, or certain things have been allowed, this and that God will use it later on. Or that there is a reason, because how could anything be random? But again, many things we can't make sense of, but let's be honest with ourselves about what we have to walk through. Let's be honest with ourselves about what the path should look like. Because oftentimes if we're honest about ourselves, if we go, well, I know I should be doing these things, but I'm not. By the way, reach out. Half of my job is providing a space where you are consistent in this. So you don't have to pretend you have to do it alone. And engage with your community. Engage with the people nearby. Engage with people that are doing aspirational things as well, that you can look up to, that you can walk with, right? But there is a lot of power in the process, and you will find that when you get to the other side and you arrive at one of those destination points that you've always had, you're a totally different person. And your intentions are so different. You'll go, oh, and it's complete. So let's trust it and be encouraged. There's always good to come.